G'day family. What a day for posting and for news. The Bible has literally come alive in the last couple of weeks really, but specifically since June 13. And now we have all these crazy and confusing posts from Donald about peace and safety and ceasefires that seem to go against the narrative that we see and hear from Iran and Israel. Although they do seem to have come on board, but if you ask me, it's more out of confusion than anything else. I can just sort of see them saying, well, we didn't plan any kind of peace ceasefire thing, but hey, I guess we'll go with it. You know what I mean? It's almost like Donald Trump is saying things that are completely opposite to the reality of the situation. Now, I did a community post recently which just reiterated what my next high watch date was, and that was simply the Apophis date, April 13, 2029, minus 1260 days, and then using the verse in John where it mentions the harvest being ready 4 months early. Which brings us to June 30th, July 1st. So that was the day that I was watching. But tonight, it's night time for me, morning in the USA. So my little team, my little crew have woken up and we're having our chats. And Brother Matthew, I believe, a Billboard for Christ, is doing a video at the moment, which I'm looking forward to seeing. And we got chatting about July 4th, which is a date Brother Matthew has as a high rapture watch date, and it's a few days after sort of my date, 3 days basically. But there is something that he pointed out, and I'd forgotten about this, and it's funny because I banged on about it for video after video a while back, when we were trying to determine, what was the actual reformation date for Israel. Was it 1948? Was it 1950 with the law of return, etc.? And we were trying to find out, what biblically God would probably see as the true reformation of Israel. And we were doing a lot of that math based on Psalm 91, the 80-year generation. Psalm 91 or Psalm 90? The 80-year generation, anyway. You know what I'm talking about. And then we moved on from there, believing that 80 years pointed to the midpoint of the tribulation with Israel, rather than the length of the fig tree generation and pertaining to a rapture, etc. And then from there, we got more stepping stones where we're looking at 77s and 84s, etc. And at the moment, we are all pretty much nailed down with our watch time frames to 2025, regardless of the month or the date. Pretty much every calendar is got that pin in 2025 right now. But in talking to Brother Matthew, how's this? He has a potential rapture of July 4th, based on his research, based on the Essene calendar, etc. That ties in with Apophis, that ties in with the flood date, and it gives his end point for the end of the tribulation as well. Now, isn't this interesting? We have been under, since Jesus was crucified, the dispensation of grace. We came out from under the law, and for the last 2,000 years-ish, we've been under the dispensation of grace, where our salvation comes not by works or keeping to the Jewish law and sacrifices and the plethora of things that they are meant to do, which ultimately they can't. We have been under the dispensation of grace, whereby if we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and God and believe in our hearts that he rose from the dead on the third day, defeating death, sin, and the grave, that he did all of that to replace us on the cross, because that's where we should have been. Our penalty was death. Jesus never sinned, therefore he was never under the penalty of death that the Father has against sin. So we've been under that dispensation. But we are only under that dispensation of grace up until the restrainer leaves and the rapture occurs. Then there is an element of works again. I wouldn't say that we are back under the law completely, but you're going to need to avoid the mark of the beast, for starters. There's works. You're going to have to not worship the image of the beast. There's all these things that you are going to have to not do, as well as believing in the finished works of Jesus. That's the plight of the tribulation saint. So, isn't it interesting, based on the screenshot that you can see there, that if we left on July 4th, essentially at sunset on that day, it becomes July 5th, which is when the Jews celebrate the law of return. Do you see where I'm going? If we leave and the dispensation of grace ends on July 5th, does the law return on the day that the Jews celebrate their law of return? God bless, guys. This is getting exciting.